My name is Ryan Noss. I'm a stewardship ambassador. I'm a certified public health educator. I'm a dad, and I own and operate We Grow With LLC. I'm back. I just got back from a really great experience. Spent 10 days, some travel time in Kazakhstan, and truly blessed from this experience. And to realize what else is taking place around the world in this process of regeneration. And I flew into Kazakhstan. It took me a 13-hour flight from Istanbul, another 5-hour flight into Kazakhstan, and then another flight once there. But I got in the dark, and so I didn't have eyes on, I hadn't seen it yet. And so this is sunrise there at the airport, waiting for that next leg. And a picture of what was to come. So excited, a lot of apprehensive, not knowing exactly what's happening. The fun part about all of this is being able to experience new cultures and people, to see how the same organisms have figured out how to organize their lives and make it through and enjoy it. This is the little baggage claim there in my final city of Aktobe, and my luggage didn't show up, so I missed two of my 3 bags. Grateful for the ones I was carrying on my back. Led to some adventures later. Here's Armen. We not only hit it off professionally, but like just a kindred spirit, and how much he cares for his place and his people. And he's actually a veterinarian, and so he's running the dairy, but because of, it's so obvious to him that because of what his animals eat, it dictates their health. And so he was brought in 15 years ago because they were losing something like 20 cows a day. They were dying, and that's bad enough, but the whole point of them is to be able to get milk, and so the quality was horrible. And so now none of those are factors, because he recognizes that metabolic health is all preventable. And so he considers himself to be a lazy veterinarian, because he has healthy animals, and he's not always having to run around and try to clean up messes. So some really cool sights coming into the town, an aspect of just what it is there, and it's in Asia, former Soviet Union, different aspects to construction and way of life. Yeah. So this is just driving down the street from the airport. The environment, physical environment of this country. They got their own spin-off of McDonald's. Go figure. So didn't eat there, but it was interesting to see just driving down the road. Beautiful mosques. This actually is a country where a lot of horse meat is consumed. So this is a beautiful meal there at a restaurant that I would never even recognize, and enjoyed the local fare. This is Armen with his right and left hand man. He calls them his pancakes, and 100% a team. Yeah. For a lot of people I work with in Kansas and Nebraska, it'll look very similar. Sunset out over the prairie. Some light reading, some Turkish tea for breakfast there. Moving out onto some of the acres. He's got some dry land production and quite a few pivots as well. And if it wasn't for the fact that I was in Kazakhstan, I've driven on roads and around pivots like this all over the country. So there's ecologically some similarities between these different ecosystems and the toolboxes that we have to work with. And so some people recognize, here's a compost. This is our composting operation for the manure on site. Some people recognize equipment, the landscape, the open sky and vistas. Yeah. We did have a weather front come through, and so we got rain in a couple days, and so really a lot of fun cloud activity. This is entering into the dairy. You can see they actually have a small pool that all the vehicles have to drive in and out with some sanitizer in it, so that nobody's bringing in these vehicles and tankers that are coming in and out of the dairy any contaminants that possibly be negative towards the animals. Wonderful hosts that also raised our flag, recognizing who's here and what banners we fly under. And the Kazakh flag is probably one of the most beautifully accurate representations of the country that was below it. And so there's honestly a dozen times where just out looking at the sky, you could see the sun shining the blue of the blue and then eagle flying overhead. It was amazing. Some 360 views of their composting operation. Runs like a deer even over in Kazakhstan. So we got the John Deere tractor, and it's towing a compost systems turner with an IBC tote for a water tank that can be put into it for keeping the compost hydrated, as well as used for inoculation. You can see it off there to the side of the turner itself. They don't have any heavy carbon like wood chips or anything like that. So the majority is made up of different straw and bales of alfalfa that they have produced on property, and the manure pack from their dairy operation. This is Armen. We're out looking at some of the cover crop seeds, taking some root samples so that we could look at it under the microscope. You can see he's interplanted his corn with cover crop blends. This is us just taking samples, looking at the rhizosheaths of the different corn and cover crops. But also for myself, this is a real first opportunity to see the soil profile, the structure, how minerally dominant, how bacterially saturated that system is. Some ground cracking due to water loss and some fracturing, which I actually really like to see because it was so tight, the compaction, it was evident. So he is using cover crops. He is using practices that stop the fungicides, stop the herbicides and insecticides, but it's still so bacterially dominant that you're not getting these fungal populations to cycle and to work with them yet. So this here is actually from the edge of what will be an observation platform in the middle of a man-made lake. And so in the process of digging out the sand out of the sand pit, they've put the intention in to be able to turn that into a fresh body of water, so that not only for just the migratory birds and as an ecosystem, but they're creating that diversity on their site. And so this parallels the edge of the dairy operation and then goes into some of the ag land, and they'll be doing some rotational grazing with other cattle, not just dairy cows, on that acreage. So this is the reminder when you're in the bathroom for you to have a nice poop. There's some cow themes to just about everything there on site, which is fun. This is looking down and through one of the many barns. Free choice, of course, for the forage and water. And then every barn also had access to outside free choice whenever they wanted to go outside. That manure pack from inside is incredibly clean, and there's drainage through the floor. But on the outside, that's what is that sand is mixed in with, so that it could be keep the animals clean and healthy. So it almost turns it into a mineral deep litter pack. And so I'll work with him to develop the ecosystem for that, so that it speeds up that process and makes the manure even better for the composting operation. This is some of the individuals. We were supposed to have about 35 individuals. We had 107 show up for presentations from several different companies. Alltech was there. This is Aziz representing them there in Kazakhstan, that part of the world. Armen doing his presentation, sharing about his operation. It is very interesting at scale to... It's a progression, and so the 10-acre guys look to the 1-acre guy to give it a try, and then the 100 acres look at those 10-acre guys and see what they've been able to accomplish, and so 1,000 acres, are looking at what smaller operations are doing and seeing what they can apply at their scale. And so Armen, being already at the 10,000 acre, and they speak in hectares, so it's a different conversion, but that scale. There were people in this audience that a lot of them, it's part of it's a geographic region and how these farms are developed or established, but are at the 100,000 plus acre scale. And there's one nowhere to start. And so Armen shared his story and a lot of his successes and failures and what he's been doing for the last 15 years. There in Kazakhstan. And so it went from a dairy that was losing and literally dying to one that's recognized nationally as the best dairy in the country. And his cows are living longer. They don't have the problems that they used to have. And he really talked about feed conversion, like how much they're eating, but how much that turns into milk. And then what they're able to produce from that. And you can see the diversity there in the slide of his cover crops between his cash crops of corn. And I don't mean cash crop as in we're going to sell the corn. They turn that into silage. And that silage then becomes the nutritional feedstock for the dairy. So, very important. He as a veterinarian recognizes it's about animal husbandry, and it doesn't matter how big the animal is. And so from the microbiome to the macrobiome, there's a through line, a consistency component. This here is one of his alfalfa fields. I looked at it in person. Amazing. Still dealing with some issues as part of the legacy of previous management practices, but that alfalfa field is still producing 3 cuts, and it's 8 years old and incredibly high quality. This gentleman, his name's Gordon. He presented a lot of really cool information about silage, and you can see that one of the primary fermenters that is part of this material that's used to improve the silage is actually a lactobacillus. Same biology. All right. A few resources that I leaned upon in my presentation, helping people to understand our own health risks. But if these practices that we're using cause our animals to be unhealthy, they cause us to be unhealthy as well. It's a great book here about just kind of some biological literacy of what the plants are trying to share with us. And so what often is called a weed is also a resource for us to tap into. This is me, honestly, at the last minute shoving videos and pictures from my phone into my computer and presentation because, like I said, the microscope and stereoscope didn't show up until 2 days later. And so instead of it being live presentation, it turned into a beefier PowerPoint. So grateful to have had the resources, but I would have preferred not to be on my phone and computer putting this puzzle together at the last minute. But hey, when your luggage doesn't show, you still have to show up. Armen, I kind of feel bad for him, but he passed out at one point. All the translation work he was doing on top of his own responsibilities, I know he was exhausted. This here's a pretty cool piece of equipment that is being developed. It allows people to do liquid injection as well as plant seeds with minimal disturbance. It's definitely a resource that is missing from the toolbox, right? To really be able to put this material back to work for us versus just throwing it on the surface and hoping that it makes its way through. So some of the individuals there have been working hard for years, and it was actually just on July 8th that the government officially recognized that soil health biological systems is a fundamental aspect of what is being applied in science and can be is recognized governmentally. So huge opportunities for them to access government aid in the recognition that soil microbiology is fundamental for our soils. Kind of a different sign, but it pretty much says no spitting. This is something I came across, and I want to share that too. If you send a self-addressed stamped envelope to this address right here, they will send you a sourdough starter that apparently has been around since the Oregon Trail. And so when you're accessing culture, you might as well access it. So for the price of an envelope and stamp, they'll send you a free sample, which is really cool. Here you go. It's a little video. The field portion of our program is about to begin, and the buses will be here shortly. But they have done an amazing job preparing and getting everything ready, showcasing both equipment and practices, and the site looks amazing. Able to actually do a pit demonstration, and we've already been down in it just to see where root depth. Yeah, super excited for all the progress and be able to share that with the community. If you haven't done a soil pit or applied that into your field days, I highly recommend it. It is a window into a world that without it we honestly are just superficial, just on the surface. People are starting to come in, curious about what's going on. At one point we had to tell them to get out because there were some very specific things in the wall that wanted to be shared with everybody. Being able to have some precision planting is a huge factor in overall success and consistency of the yield, what your plants are doing. And there's some other spots where we can show, just having one seed planted a little differently or deeper, then, has a whole different life cycle connected to emergence. And then with everything else growing up and around it, it ends up being stunted out. So some fun 3D or panorama shots of everybody standing around. This is good.
I'm good. Okay.
Oh yeah, he thought it's a dairy, but that dairy has their own brand of milk and everything they make out of that dairy, and that was the first time I got a little ice cream, so it was good. You can see the weather coming in the distance. Compost turner, in the background there. So it's amazing how much work can be done when people are working, and so using their tools. So even a small or windrowing unit like this, when it's being utilized, can actually work a tremendous amount of material. And so they've got dozens of different windrows that they have in production and being processed, and you can see that they've mixed the straw, some of that alfalfa, into the manure pack. There's a group of us out in some of the grass forage fields. This is a picture of the dairy in the background. Substantial infrastructure, and they're building more barns. This is an 8-year-old alfalfa field. How do I get my picture off of this? Yeah, really great to see a tremendous group out there in the fields. Grateful she was able to take pictures for me. This is us in kind of a raised picnic or eating area outside the cafeteria. Armen feeds the 11 staff members that he has 4 times a day. No one leaves hungry. Everybody's there to get work done. The dairy is in full-blown operation. And after everybody left, we had an opportunity to explore some of the ecological niches around his area. And there's some camels that they're hobbled, so they can't really run off, but they roam and eat. It was a small herd of female camels, and they have a whole industry. They'll milk camels. Mare's milk, horse milk. That was actually a super surprise for me how good horse milk was. The mare's milk tastes like coconut water. It's really cool, different amino acid profile. Amazing pictures. We went to a man-made forest, which was apparently planted like 100 years ago. Former Soviet Union, or I guess maybe it was former Tsar, if it was 100 years ago. I don't know. When you think about the math and the geopolitical changes that have taken place. Anyways, the Russians planted this forest out in the flat prairie. And so for the last 100 years or so, this ecosystem has developed. And they have moose and wolves and deer and foxes, and they weren't introduced. It was because of habitat construction and promotion. And so while there, I saw a fox running through the grass, and got some pictures of some other creatures here. There's a big eagle that was it spooked it when we drove by. Best pictures I could take, but man, it was gorgeous. Some of the open vista. And so in this ecological system, it has been allowed to develop that diversity over time. And so instead of just the planted area, the edges of this forest have expanded, and there's a succession in the prairie that's taking place naturally. And so new pockets, new little island oases of forests are popping up as the birds and animals have spread seeds around the area. Yeah. Really pretty wildflower area. Tons of diversity. This little sucker surprised me. They have vipers there that are like our rattlesnakes without the rattle. And so this little viper, he didn't want to be played with. But he's real. And I touched him for a half a second, and I didn't want to be bit even if he wasn't venomous. So at that point, you know, Armen, he's like, no, that one will cause problems. So really amazing aspects to this ecosystem. And after a few days of gray kind of cloud coverage, it was nice to see the sun poking through too. It was in this environment that some of the IMO or indigenous microorganism samples that I was able to identify and find. Surprisingly, some of the coolest stuff that had the most biodiversity, the most, you know, complete soil food web systems in it was the moose droppings that we found. Yeah. Thus, I'm getting stuck at a checkpoint for a little bit, but no problems to, because we came inside one side of the forest and out the other side. And so at a border checkpoint, they were like, where'd you come from? Came out of the woods. So, yeah, some really great aerial pictures taken by the drone from the presentation. You can see in the Kazakh flags the blue, the sun, and the eagle soaring underneath. So we're just looking at some of the inputs, some of the different seeds and blends that he has. Kaz Seeds is providing amazing products, cover crops, and I know that they're providing corn seeds, which is wonderful. I've worked with them here in the United States under a different name, but same genetics of the corn. So Bass hybrids here in the United States. And so really amazing hybridized healthy seeds that can withstand the ecosystems, stand up to it. Looking at the precision planters that are being utilized. It's an irrigation platform that allows for water to be moved through the system even with the height. And so there was a lot of how do we utilize this system to do more? Not just water, but what can we use for inoculation? This is Armen in front of Ice Holstein's logo. And so the dairy, Ice Holstein, is stewarded by Armen, and he's done an amazing job. Now, in the soil, this is one of the nice parts. We were able to actually start getting into what the plant is having to deal with, what its ecosystem is needing. Really poor, P-O-O-R, poor space, P-O-U-R space, right? And so this is where our space is that connection to the rest of the system. And so because it's still so bacterially dominant and there's a lack of turbation or movement from animals, bioturbation, a lot of that mineral profile is layered instead of mixed. So pointing some of those details out. It's Armen and I sharing some of the information while we're there inside the rows of corn. A beautiful day, like on point temperatures. Yeah, there we go. And one spot that was really interesting is that because of the shift in the soil microbiome, it's actually these weed species that are the ones under stress versus the cash crops. And so you can see this is Palmer amaranth. We have a lot of these problems with this plant here in the United States as well. So the similarities between the ecosystems and what nature is doing is the same. And so when you shift, from a system that has no available calcium to having available calcium, you shift plant preferences. And the plants that like a heavily disturbed environment, high in nitrates and a lack of available nutrition, a lot of times we call those weeds. And so when the environment's becoming healthier, it actually becomes more inhospitable for those weeds to proliferate, to grow. This is the turntable there in the dairy. You can see the cows come in. It's a process the whole time. Super chill. This is not a stressed environment. They are milked. They go around the circle and they come out, and they do that 3 times a day. So it's very much a conditioned response. Everybody's doing exactly what they're supposed to do, and the dairy is doing wonderfully. So the equipment finally got here. Grateful for it, and so we set that up in the classroom area that is there on site, and we were able to look at different samples from around both the property and the system. So it's a different picture outside of the dairy, this little village on the outskirts. You can see kind of village life on the outskirts in Kazakhstan. The dairy, 40 minutes away from the town where they did the conference, and so had a nice opportunity to drive and see the countryside and see what was going on. The cultural changes from the urban to the rural. More and more I just realize it's the differences between living in and out and surrounded by nature versus in a city and covered and surrounded in technology and sequestered away in boxes. It changes people. And so here's Karen the tardigrade hanging out on the windowsill there with the Kazakhstan flag in the background. Some different shops there in the city heading out. So this is a Russian Orthodox church, and there's a massive park between that church and I don't know the name of the mosque, but the mosque there in October, you can see the minarets off there to the left. And so there's a park of friendship between. It's very interesting culture-wise. This is in Asia, and so the cultural underlay is really more about camaraderie and peace and interaction. No issues on any level, and felt incredibly welcome the whole time. Just some pictures leaving October and starting my way back to the United States. Took me about 23 hours of flight time and add another probably 10 for layovers or more. But you can see the blue sky, and then through the clouds you can see the farmland below. So really kind of, I'm hoping to do a little watercolor and kind of capture that too. Thanks for flying. This on one of my layovers was 8 hours long, and so I had an opportunity to go into the capital city, and then was able to kind of get a tour. Aziz from Alltech was kind enough to,
We can't even go inside. It's so beautiful inside.
yeah, to kind of play tour guide for a couple hours before having to go back to the airport. And so really got a wonderful view of... I've traveled to Istanbul. Yeah, and in Istanbul, you can visit the mosque there as well. Some of the different architecture. This town is incredibly new. And so it has been most recently developed as the cultural and political capital of the country. You can see the moons come up. Beautiful pictures of the mosque there. And just one of many legs on the way back to the United States. It was... Oh, this is a lot of place, but... this is over Greenland. And then traveling, we got the reflector fields, and then outside of Vegas, and then coming into LA. That's the LA River. You see how different, like, culturally, the people, the picture of the town, like, there's an aspect of going from rural to urban that takes away the color, that mutes the life, that, suppresses what should be a healthy ecosystem. And I think in many ways it suppresses our human ecosystem as well. And maybe that's why there's so much conflict between our nature and human nature. So, yeah, there's LA. It's kind of a dirty place. Need some help. So we got to work on the management practices there. So, thanks for just doing a quick pick. Or this is just stuff off my camera roll or photos from my phone, and so I'll put together some other material of the presentations and some more details. But really, just as an overview right now, I feel incredibly welcome and super impressed, not only with what Armen has been doing with ice Holsteins, but also with the people that we're able to be interacted with and what they're endeavoring to do on their operations. And that scale is extensive. And so the opportunities that we have to make the world a better place and to nurture both our human nature and the rest of this natural ecosystem is tremendous. So I want to thank everybody for watching, and some outtakes from the experience, and for all those that were there. Truly thank you for being so amazing and wonderful. My name is Ryan Noss. I'm a stewardship ambassador. I'm a certified public health educator. I'm a dad, and I own and operate We Grow With LLC. We Grow With helps people to differentiate between fertilizer and fertility. We use products and services. We equip people with the observation tools they need, as well as the products that make their jobs easier, allowing them to turn dead dirt into living land at any scale.